In this session, we will briefly look at some of the key design issues that designers must deal with while building a distributed operating system. Now we know that distributed systems by definition involve multiple machines, processes, and resources which together are called as nodes, which may be located in different places altogether. However, when working with distributed system, everything seems to appear as one cohesive unit. In other words, the user might be interacting with several nodes at once, but to us, it doesn't appear that way at all. Instead, it likely feels as if we are dealing with a single system or a single machine or a process. So with respect to design issues, we will be discussing regarding transparency, flexibility, reliability, performance, and scalability. So when do you say a distributed system is transparent? So basically, a distributed system that presents itself as a single system is also known as transparent. The transparency of a system is a major factor when it comes to designing a distributed system. Ultimately, transparency is responsible for determining the ways in which the nodes of a system will work together. In other words, the way in which a distributed system handles transparency shows us how exactly the system hides its distribution from the end user, instead of appearing as one cohesive system. But how does it mean, or what does it mean to hide the distribution of a distributed system? Well, if we think of a distributed system as a bunch of various nodes that are dispersed and scattered about, but are working together, then we can deduce that there could be various things to hide. For example, transparency could hide the fact that a system could be processing data across various nodes. It could also hide the fact that data could live and be stored across many nodes, which are also working together. No matter the exact ways in which a system actually achieves this, the ultimate goal of distributed transparency is to create the illusion that the system is not a bunch of various nodes, but rather one whole node or a single system. It is important to note that this illusion, the transparency of a system, is not only created for the end users of a system, but also for programmers using a system, as well as any potential applications that may be occasionally reaching out the system to use it. Okay, now we'll discuss about the various ways in which we hide. So we'll discuss about location transparency, migration transparency, replication transparency, concurrency, and parallelism transparency. Coming to the first type of transparency, that is location transparency. Just as a resource might be represented differently on different nodes on a distributed system, it goes to follow that different resources could very well be located in different places. Now, location transparency is what hides where a resource is located. This form of transparency allows for objects within a system to be consistently accessible without their location being a factor. Moving towards migration transparency. Migration transparency is what follows for the movement of resources within a system without the user of the resource noticing it. When it comes to migration transparency, the way that a resource moves from location A to location B could mean a variety of different things. The resource could change its physical address in the system, and everything that pointed to that resource and referenced it would have to change in accordance with its new location. Migration transparency is what ensures the fact that a resource can move to different location within the system and still be accessible in the same manner by a user. This also means that a resource shouldn't have to change its name if it moves locations either. Next, we will discuss about a replication transparency. As we might begin to imagine, being able to access, migrate, or relocate a resource can get quite dicey. This becomes especially tricky if we only have a single resource that all of the users of our system can access. But that's where replication transparency can come to help us. Replication transparency allows for multiple instances of resources to exist at once. With this form of transparency, users or programs can access a resource without knowing which instance of the resource they are working with, much less the fact that there is more than one copy of the resource that exists. Now, when designing a distributed system to be replicant transparent, we generally have to consider three things. First is creating, second maintaining, and third accessing the replicated resources. Moving towards concurrency transparency. Sharing resources is obviously an important part of making a distributed system to work. As we now know, replication transparency allows users to share access to a resource by creating and maintaining multiple versions of it. However, what happens if the resource is being modified or written to by a user? Or what if something about a resource changes and two users are sharing access to it at once? So concurrency transparency, which is also known as transaction transparency, allows multiple users of a distributed system to compete for access to a resource and perform actions concurrently on the resource without any of the users knowing about it. And finally, parallelism transparency. We come to the hardest one, parallelism transparency. In principle, a distributed system is supposed to appear to the user as a traditional uniprocessor time-sharing system. Activities can happen in parallel without user knowing it. This is called as parallelism transparency. So moving towards the next design issue, that is flexibility. Now flexibility can be provided by user by using a microkernel or a monolithic kernel. So basically, kernel is the core of the operating system. It is the first program of the operating system that is loaded into the main memory to start the working of the system. Kernel remains in the main memory till the system is shut down. Kernel basically translates the commands entered by the user in a way to make the computer understand what the user has requested for. Kernel is the core part of an operating system and it manages the system resources. So basically, kernel is like a bridge between application and hardware of the computer. The kernel can be further classified into two categories as microkernel and the monolithic kernel. We'll discuss in brief about the microkernel. microkernel being a kernel manages all system resources. But in microkernel, the user services and the kernel services are implemented in different address space. The user services are kept in the user address space and the kernel services are kept under the kernel address space. So this reduces the size of the kernel and further reduces the size of operating system also. In addition to the communication between application and hardware of the system, the microkernel provides minimal services of process and memory management. The communication between the client program and services running in user address space is established through message passing. They never interact directly. This reduces the speed of execution of microkernel. So in a microkernel, the user services are isolated from kernel services. So if any user service fails, it does not affect the kernel service and hence the operating system remains unaffected. This is one of the advantages in microkernel. Also, the microkernel is easily extendable. If new services are to be added, they are added to user address space and hence the kernel space do not require any modification. The microkernel is also easily portable, secure and reliable. Now we will discuss about the monolithic kernel. The monolithic kernel manages the system resources between application and hardware of the system. But unlike microkernel, the user services and kernel services are implemented under same address space. This increases the size of the kernel and further increases the size of operating system also. The monolithic kernel provides CPU scheduling, memory management, file management and other operating systems through system calls. As user services and kernel services both reside in the same address space, this results in fast executing operating system. Now coming to the drawbacks of monolithic kernel. So one of the drawbacks of monolithic kernel is if any one service fails, the entire system will crash. If a new service is to be added in monolithic kernel, the entire operating system has to be modified, whereas that is not the case in microkernel. Now let's have a look at the comparison chart of microkernel and monolithic kernel. The basic comparison is with respect to microkernel, the user services and the kernel services are kept in separate address space. Whereas in monolithic kernel, both the user service and the kernel services are kept in the same address space. With respect to size, the microkernel is smaller as compared to monolithic kernel, which is larger. Execution is slower in microkernel and faster in monolithic kernel. The microkernel is easily extendable, whereas it is difficult to extend a monolithic kernel. In terms of security, if a service crashes, it won't affect the working of a microkernel, whereas in terms of monolithic kernel, the whole system crashes if a service crashes. The third design issue is about reliability. Here we will discuss about availability, security and fault tolerance. A highly reliable system must be highly available. But this is not enough. Data entrusted to the system must not be lost or garbled in any way. And if files are stored redundantly on multiple servers, then all the copies must be kept consistent. In general, the more copies that are kept, the better the availability. but the greater the chance that they will be inconsistent, especially if updates are frequent. Next, about security. Files and other resources must be protected from unauthorized usage. Although the same issue occurs in single processor system, in distributed system it is more severe. In a single processor system, the user logs in and is authenticated. From then on, the system knows who the user is and can check whether each attempted access is legal or not. Whereas in a distributed system, when a message comes into a server asking for some information, the server has no simple way of determining who it is, no name or identification field in the message can be trusted, since the sender may be lying. So at the very best, considerable care is required. Fault tolerance. Suppose that a server crashes and then quickly reboots. In this case, what happens? Does the server crash bring users down with it? If the server has tables containing important information about ongoing activities, then in this case, recovery will be quite difficult. The next design issue is on performance. Now, various performance metrics can be used. Response time is one. The second one is throughput, that is number of jobs per hour, followed by system utilization and amount of network capacity consumed. The performance problem is compounded by the fact that communication, which is essential in distributed system, is typically quite slow. Sending a message and getting a reply over a line takes about 1 millisecond. Most of this time is due to unavoidable protocol handling on both the ends, rather than the time the bits spent on the wire. Thus, to optimize performance, one often has to minimize the number of messages. The difficulty with this strategy is that the best way to gain performance is to have many activities running in parallel on different processes. But doing so requires sending many messages. So good reliability is often achieved by having several servers closely cooperating on a single request. For example, when a request comes into a server, it could immediately send a copy of the message to one of its colleagues so that if it crashes before finishing, the colleague could take over. Naturally, when this thing is done, it must inform the colleague that the work has been completed, which will take another message. Thus, we have at least 2 extra messages, which in the normal case will be time consuming, and it will give no gain to the system. And the final design issue is on scalability. The idea of scalability in a system can mean many different things, depending on the system that we are dealing with, as well as which part of the system is growing. But speaking on more general terms, we can say that the scalability of a system reflects its ability to handle tasks as the system grows in size. In the same way, we can say that a system which is scalable is one that can continue to do its job and perform effectively as it begins to grow. With respect to scalability, the designer must take care of the following bottleneck. Should avoid using centralized components, centralized table, and centralized algorithms. Coming to centralized components, you can see in this figure there's one single mail server and n number of users. If the mail server fails, then the entire system will come to halt because there is only one centralized component. So try avoiding using centralized components in distributed system. Next, about centralized tables. We'll consider an example about a telephone directory. Now, how should one keep track of the telephone numbers and addresses of say 50 million people? Assuming that each data record takes about 50 characters, then a single 2.5 gigabyte disk would provide enough storage. But here again, having a single database would undoubtedly saturate all the communication lines into the database and out of the database. It will also be vulnerable to failures. And finally, rather than using centralized algorithms, it's better to go for decentralized algorithms. Now, this algorithm generally have the following characteristics which distinguish them from the centralized algorithm. In case of decentralized algorithm, no machine has complete information about the entire system state. Each machine makes decision based on only some local information available to it. And finally, the main point is failure of one machine does not ruin the algorithm. So let's summarize what we have discussed in this session. We spoke about the design issues in distributed system. We spoke in brief about 5 design issues, that is with respect to transparency, flexibility in distributed system, reliability, performance, and scalability of distributed system. Thank you.